Squirrel projects can be embedded inside a containing web application. And if they are, then bidirectional communication with the containing application can be achieved by using the external parameters function. Select external parameters from the drop-down list, click the plus button, and the external parameters function is added to the project. This allows us to receive data from the containing application or send data back out to it. Multiple parameters can be sent and received just by clicking this plus button, and individual parameters can be renamed. The type of the incoming message is either GET, in which case the parameter is sent on the query string calling the Squirrel project, or as a JS message which is sent in using a JavaScript message from the containing application. In both cases, we provide a cell to bind to that message, in this case A1, which means that any time this param message comes in as a JS message, its value will be inserted into sheet 1 A1 in the spreadsheet model. Data which is sent out is always sent as a JS message, and the value for the parameter is bound again to a cell in the spreadsheet, and a message will be generated and sent to the containing application every time the value in that cell changes. To see this in action, consider this example where we have a Squirrel project embedded here in an iframe inside a containing application. A very simple application just has a heading where we say message from dashboard, and then a span. We're going to put the message from the dashboard. Just starts off by saying no message yet. Then a button where we're going to use a function to send a message into Squirrel. Then a drop down which gives us the values small, medium and large. And then the iframe itself where we're calling the Squirrel project into this containing application. Now, the first thing to note is this is being called with a command line parameter of color equals blue, and that is being reflected here in this message coming back as we saw into the Squirrel project. If I change this to green and then save this away, now if I refresh this, when it refreshes that, we see that that's green. So that is being passed on the command line into the Squirrel project as it starts up. But also we can send data in when the dashboard is running. We do that through the JS messages. We saw wiring that up in the project. And in this case, the JS message comes in when I click this button. And so we see there's no message come in yet, but if I click send size to Squirrel, I get small. And if I come and pick large, then that's large. So that button is invoking a function which is sending a message into Squirrel, which is then reflected in the Squirrel project's user interface. And this has happened on this button here, where I'm calling the send size function on the onClick event, and send size just gets the size, which just gets the value of this drop down, which would be a small, medium or large, and then it uses the send message function, which is defined down here, to send a message of type size with the size we've just got. And then the send message function just as a post message, which is a JavaScript primitive, of name, which in this case is size, and value, which is in this case the size, which is the value of the drop-down. And this dashboard identifier here has just been pulled out from the DOM using the ID, get element ID of the dashboard in its iframe up here. Then finally, we've got the output from the Squirrel dashboard back to the containing application. And we see we've got no message yet from the dashboard, but if I type something in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hit return, then as this text box writes that value back into the spreadsheet, as we saw in the Squirrel Designer, then a message is generated and sent back to the containing application. The way that that happens is that's being sent as a message out of Squirrel to the parent container, and so this event listener here is picking that up, so it's listening for a message. And when it sees if the name of the message is output message, which is what we called it inside Squirrel, and the value is not equal to null, then S is just this target span up here. And we say we want the inner text of that to be equal to the value of the event, which has come in from Squirrel. So it's taking this value, sending it into a message. The message is part of the message as the event data value, and then that inner text on the span is being set there. So bidirectional communication to and from a Squirrel project sitting inside a containing web application.